On a landscape, I don't know,
I mean, following up on the economic impacts, do you ever look at, or does anyone sort of raise with you, do you factor in any sort of negative economic impacts that a poultry development might generate?
I haven't done, no.
I mean, I'm just thinking if it's a location where there's other businesses in close proximity who might...
Oh, right, yes.
I don't know, a pub with a beer garden, or a bed and breakfast, or a campsite, or a glamping, or whatever. There's sort of probably more in the tourism sector, although I guess it might be other things.
I have had that with a sort of camping site, and they were very concerned that would impact on their site, whether that was sort of visually or sort of odour, noise point of view, and that was essentially, assessed in the same way. And I think, from a technical sense, someone staying, whether it's a holiday let or camping, you are there for a temporary period. Whereas if it's your permanent residence, you're there permanently. So from a technical sense, if you're a transient person, there's a sort of argument to say if it was beyond the odour threshold levels, there's an argument to say, oh well, that's a transient person, that should be afforded less weight. But then there is the business side of it. Clearly tourism, whether it's all over, brings in massive businesses, and clearly no one wants to put a business, put it out of business. So that is a consideration,
because a lot of businesses are reliant on repeat business, and people coming back, so it might impact on that. And I suppose the other concern would be the current prevalence of sort of review sites and people going on TripAdvisor and reviewing things, and then it's much easier, in the old days, someone having a couple of nights where it was a bit smelly or something, nobody would necessarily have known about that, whereas these days it's all up there online, and people might think twice about booking there. So I suppose I'm asking, how much weight would that sort of impact on what might be quite a small business, perhaps? How much weight should be given to...
Well, a lot. This case I had in Paris, that was a major... They were probably the chief objector, the sort of caravan camping site. From an odour point of view, it's well below... There's a sort of 3 odour unit threshold level. It's well below that. So, from my professional judgment, I don't think it's going to have any impact. And that went to planning committee. Questions were asked in the application process. But the technical reports sort of addressed it. The councillors at planning committee, discussed it and raised it. So it was given
an airing.
A lot of weight. But again, from a technical process, the evidence was that it won't impact on it.
I mean, that's interesting, because the technical... Do the odour modelling people, do they ever go back and kind of test? I mean, odour is so difficult anyway, because you can't... it's not like noise, where you can actually... go back and you could check, and you could say, actually that's lower or higher than what we were predicting, and maybe we need to tweak our model or something. But with odour, obviously, it is more difficult. But are you aware of any after studies, if you like, any studies of what
I'm not, no.
And there's quite a small pool of consultants who do this work, isn't there? The sort of the modelling ones.
Yes.
Maybe I need to talk to them. about do they ever, how do they adjust things, or do they ever go back and test it? And
I've got one client at the moment, and he had within his, you've got the farmyard, he's got 4 broiler units, been there over 20 years. Within the farmyard, they've converted the building, I think, a long time ago, not necessarily 20 years, to a sort of holiday let, and that's in the farmyard. The poultry units are on the edge of the farmyard, must be 100 metres or less, and as far as I know, that's regularly let and does well.
I mean, there are certainly farms. I've spoken to a couple of farmers who have a tourism business and a poultry business, so obviously it depends on the layout and what it is and so on, but I'm aware there are farm holdings which do both. And that's fair enough.
I mean, I've obviously sort of visited a lot of poultry sites since I've been here. Clearly those are in effect random visits for an hour or various points of the cycle. I don't live near a poultry unit, but having gone to a lot, hand on heart, I can say during those visits, from a sort of noise and odour smell, there's often it's virtually undetectable. Sometimes, yes, you can smell it, but I don't find it's not at offensive levels by any stretch. Clearly, it's mainly when the birds are out and they're removing the litter. That is the point where you would normally expect to have the highest odour levels, and clearly not living next to one to the 24/7. I can't sort of comment from a personal perspective, but based on visiting, they are.
I've been to a few now. Yeah, they weren't too bad. Although, it's a recent camping trip in the north of the area, where I was switched off completely from this research, and we were sitting out. It's partly the weather. It was one of those gorgeous, sunny,
I think it is.
Still days. Yeah. We were just sitting outside the camper van, and I suddenly thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was dreadful for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't looking for it. It wasn't within sight. When I checked, I thought, I think I know where it is. But
I mean, where I live in Worcestershire, rural area, I was walk the dog in the morning round some farmers' fields. They've recently cut some sort of rapeseed, and they've obviously had a delivery of muck, and that's when you get up close to it, that has got a whiff to it. There are lots of farming activities that will have an odour. Pigs, dairy, muck spreading, whether that's poultry manure or something else.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because there's this rhetoric about that you see flung around sometimes with, of course the countryside smells, and you've got to accept that. But I suppose there's also but is it getting worse, or is it getting more frequent? And it's trying
again, there's a balance, because you have genuinely got to expect some nuisance, whether that's at harvest time, any time, slow farming vehicles, and that takes long hedge cutting, or work harvesting until midnight, smells, noise of cows, pigs. There's a whole variety out there of things, but again, you're right, there's got to be a balance, and obviously when things go within a planning application, it's then scrutinised to the nth degree. Other situations where you don't need planning permission, and suddenly you have a delivery of cattle or pigs. That just happens legitimately,
Thinking about the objectors again, and any cases that you've had that have been more controversial, how would you characterise the objectors and what motivates them? Is there a typical sort of pattern to that?
I think it's just people who are